In one of my last videos, we unboxed, test rode and reviewed the ENGWE Engine Pro. There's just one problem with the ENGWE Engine Pro. It's not street legal. That's where this brand new box from ENGWE, which is a street legal e-bike, comes in handy. I guess first things to do, get it out the box and take a look at how we assemble the bike. Before we take a look at the bike, let's take a look at this gift box that ENGWE is giving out for the 10th anniversary of ENGWE e-bikes. This gift box is available when you spend £650 or more on the ENGWE website between the 10th and the 20th of April. So opening up the box, first thing is you've got a leaflet from ENGWE saying explore a new way, ENGWE bikes, and then a nice message from ENGWE inside. We also get an ENGWE hat in the black and orange colourway to match the channel. Lovely little hat. We then get an ENGWE high visibility jacket with an ENGWE pocket on the front. Turning it over on the back, you got another back pocket and explore a new way again from ENGWE on the top, and this is Velcro, so this can actually be removed. You get a nice carry bag from ENGWE. Again, it says explore a new way, ENGWE. This is a plasticky kind of bag and it's in a really cool orange. When you have a look inside, hopefully you can see that on camera, it goes a bit oil slick. So a nice little bag from ENGWE. There's an ENGWE 10th anniversary keyring. You can stick that on your ENGWE bike keys. And then finally, you get a big sticker set from ENGWE. Keep riding ahead, ENGWE 10, born to ride, rock, power, more stickers from ENGWE. So when you spend £650 more on the ENGWE website, this is what you will receive between the 10th and the 20th of April. So as usual, ENGWE has packaged this bike incredibly well to prevent any damage whilst being delivered. So let's get this packaging off and see what we're left with. So now with everything unboxed and unpackaged, we can start taking a look at what we've actually got to put on the bike to assemble the bike. And this is going to be things like a kickstand. The seat needs putting in. The seat does come with this rear light on it, which you activate by pressing the actual light itself. It's got 3 modes. It's got a red light, solid red light. It's got flashing red light, and then it's got off. We've then got the rear basket bracket type thing that's got to go on the back of the bike. We've then also got the front mudguard that needs putting on. The pedals also need unwrapping and putting on. Also included in that box was the charger that you're going to use to charge your battery. This is a 3 amp charger, so it's not going to be the fastest of chargers, but it's definitely going to be suitable for charging the batteries that come in the ENGWE. We then get the toolkit which ENGWE includes, which should have every tool in it needed to actually assemble the bike. So this consists of 2 Allen keys, 3 different types of spanners that have all got different sizes on them, and then a little screwdriver type tool. And then finally we get this little white box, which I have no idea what is inside, so we'll open that up. So I actually have no idea what this is, but I'm sure we'll find out when assembling the bike. And then last but not least, we also get the front wheel that also needs putting on the bike. The tyres do come with a bit of air in, but it feels like it's going to want a bit more air putting in the tyres too. We also get the handlebars, which are actually attached to the bike because of all the cables, the brake cables, power cables, etc. The handlebars also need putting on the bike. So I guess with everything now unboxed and unpackaged, let's start getting this bike put together and see what we're dealing with. The first 2 things we need to attach to the bike are the handlebars and the front mudguard. So without further ado, let's start getting them on the bike. So next up we're going to be putting the seat on the bike. This is then going to make it easier to turn the bike over to put the front wheel on. I think it does say in the instructions to put the front wheel on first, but it just doesn't make sense to me. I think I'd rather put the seat on so we can flip the bike upside down. Then installing the front wheel is going to be so much easier with the forks up in the air rather than being down on the ground trying to hold everything. So let's get this seat installed. So next up we're going to install the kickstand, so when we do flip the bike back over we have something to lean the bike on so it's not falling all over the place while we're trying to assemble it. So that's the full bike now assembled. Engwe do try and make this as easy as possible whilst packaging the bike in a suitable way, so once you get the bike out the box it is then easy to assemble, shouldn't take much time and shouldn't be too much fiddling. I have got one component left which I haven't put on the bike, and earlier in the video I struggled to identify what this was, but then I soon realised it's actually a bell for the bike, and it's the strangest bell that I've ever actually seen. Makes a nice sound, but I don't think I'll be putting the bell on the bike. I tend to just use my voice if I need people to get out of the way rather than a bell. So if you were wondering what this was, it's a bell. I won't be putting it on, but it's available to put on if you want it to be put on. With the bike now fully assembled, there's only a few things left to do, and one of them is get the battery on charge. But before I do that, I'm going to actually have a look at taking the battery out the bike and show you guys how you get the battery in and out of this bike, then put it on charge so when we go for a ride we're on 100%. So let's take a look at getting this battery out. So for a start, the bike does come with two keys which are attached here to the handlebars just with a zip tie, so we're going to go ahead, snip that off, get rid of the cable tie, and now we've got the two keys which are going to grant us access to get into the battery. So then on this side of the battery you will find a rubber flap which is covering up a charger port for the battery on this side, and then on this side it's actually covering up a keyhole which is where you're going to insert the key to remove the battery. So we're going to put the key in, turn it to my left, and you will actually feel that the battery is slightly popped up. At the rear of the battery there is actually a metal pin that sits inside of the frame, and you should notice that once you have turned the key to the left, that metal pin slots inside, giving you access to pull the battery up and out. To give us the most room as possible to actually get this battery out, we're going to have to raise the seat, and Engwe have made this as easy as possible by making a quick release seat. So there's a lever underneath the seat. The seat currently is as far down as it will go. If I press that lever, the seat then lifts up. That should give us easy access to get the battery out. So we're going to want to go ahead and remove the key, and then the battery should easily slide completely out of the bike, and that is the Engwe battery. Not a lot of detail or design to it, but there doesn't need to be. You have got the Engwe logo at the top, which you will see at the top of the rear of the bike once the battery is installed. This battery is a 36 volt and a 19.2 amp hour battery, and Engwe believe that this has one of the best ranges of batteries for one of their e-bikes altogether. So let's get this battery charged up, then we'll start taking it for a ride. We are now out on the Engwe P275 Pro. We have come to a stretch of road. I'm not actually going to be riding on the road on this bit because this road is quite a busy main fast road, and personally I'd prefer to ride on the path and not get hit by a car. Before we get started, let's take a look at the display. and the controls we have for the display screen. So this bike, because it is a road legal bike, it does not have a thumb throttle, so everything is purely pedal assist. To control the pedal assist, we have different power modes, which we control with the buttons here, which is then converted on the display and tells the motor which power mode we want to be in. So for a start, you have 0. 0 is neutral. 0 is no power from the motor whatsoever. Then we have Eco, Touring, Sport, Sport Plus, and Boost. So presumably Boost is going to be the most powerful mode, and then we're going to have Eco, which is going to be the least powerful mode. So what we're going to do is going to start off on Eco, start pedaling, and see how we get on. So another feature about this bike is it does have 3 automatic gears. So when you're pedaling, you start off in the lowest gear, and that makes it quite easy to pedal. Then the more speed you pick up, it clicks into the second gear. Then once you pick up a bit more speed, you will then go into the third gear, which will make it slightly harder to pedal. But that's where the pedal assist comes in handy and will be helping you along. So I'm in Eco now, and we're getting up to about 23 kilometers an hour. To stay within the street legal level, this bike can only carry you up to 15 mile an hour with the pedal assist, and the pedal assist needs to cut out. I believe they say this bike can do 25 kilometers an hour, which will roughly convert to 15 miles an hour. And again, that is just to stay within the street legal limits. So upon first impressions, the bike rolls really smoothly. I'm definitely in the third gear now because I can feel it is slightly harder to pedal. You might hear a few bumps in my voice because I'm on the path, and the path has got quite a few bumps. Obviously this bike is a commuter, so it doesn't have any suspension, so I am taking the brunt of all of the bumps. And this is quite a bumpy path, so imagine if you were on the road it would be a lot smoother. So we've just gone from Eco and we're going to put it into touring mode. To be honest, I didn't feel much of a difference in the pedal assist. It feels exactly the same as it did in Eco. I'm still having to put in a fair amount of effort to keep pedaling, but that is down to the street legal limits of what the motor can do. For you to have a bike that's going to do most of the work for you, you need a lot more power than a 250 watt motor. And unfortunately in the UK, to be street legal, you have to have a 250 watt motor. So now we're on the actual road, it is a hell of a lot smoother than riding on that bumpy path. And this is more like what the bike is going to handle like when you are commuting through cities or towns or on road. So we're going to move it up a gear. We've now gone into Sport. Again, not a great difference in the feel of the pedal assist. Definitely feels like the motor's doing a slight bit more than it was before. And we're sitting at a speed of about 24 kilometers an hour. So let's bump it up into Sport Plus. Oh, okay, now we feel a definite difference in that pedal assist. We're still having to put in quite a lot of leg work, but the pedal assist has definitely made a difference. So last but not least, we'll stick it into Boost, and that is where you feel the pedal assist doing the most work. We have actually gone to 26.4 kilometers an hour, which is slightly over the 25 kilometers an hour. But overall, this is a lovely bike to ride. The riding position is quite different to what I'm used to from coming from a background of Surons, and when it comes to bicycles, I come from a background of BMXs, mountain bikes. Being on such a road bike, it's definitely a different riding position. Again, even compared to the ENGWE Engine Pro that we reviewed in a recent video, massively different bikes, hugely different. But so far it's been a really nice ride. Like I said before, the bike's really smooth, rolls really nicely. Everything feels like it's made of good quality. Slightly strange riding position, but that's bound to be expected from a commuter bike like this rather than a mountain bike or any of the other types of bikes I'm used to riding. This is the first street legal pedal assist e-bike that I've ever actually been on, ridden in general. It's the first mid-drive motor that I've ever used. I've only ever used the ENGWE Engine Pro, which features a hub motor and a thumb throttle as well as pedal assist. And this is a torque motor as well, so the harder you pedal, the more power it will supply. But again, it will always cap off at that 25 kilometers an hour. As for battery levels, it's saying that I've done 6 kilometers so far, 5.9 if we're going to be precise, but I'll call it 6. And it's saying that I've done 1% of the battery. So I'm now on 99%, which is quite impressive, to be honest. That's one of these features on this bike that was a huge selling point for ENGWE, and that is going to be the range. They reckon this bike can do up to 260 kilometers, which I think I converted to about 160 miles. I imagine that would be mainly in power modes, Eco and Touring. I reckon if you stayed in Sport, Sport Plus or in Boost mode, that will decrease ever so slightly. But with it being a mid-drive torque motor, they are a lot more efficient than the hub motors that you're probably used to seeing on e-bikes. The hub motors use a lot more power, are nowhere near as efficient, and especially when you're only on a 250 watt motor like this Engwe bike is, it really doesn't take a lot of battery power to give you that pedal assist. So far, my honest opinions on this bike are, as far as a bike goes, as the actual bike, forgetting it's electric, it's brilliant. All the components seem really strong. It's got some good parts on here like Tektro brakes, CST tyres, and a nice strong feeling frame. Everything feels good quality built. As far as the electric side of things go, and considering it is a legal e-bike, meaning it can be ridden on the roads, I think at this point, unless you really struggle to push a bike yourself with your legs, I think you're better off going and getting a mountain bike with a decent set of gears on it. Again, because it's legal, you've got to put in quite a bit of effort to actually propel the bike. Again, it's nothing killer, it's nothing that's putting too much strain on the legs, but it has got to be a constant cycle to keep that bike going. I've kept it in boost this whole time and I've sat steadily at 23, 24 kilometers an hour. So I guess the next thing to do with the bike, now we've given it a bit of a test ride, is find a location where we can stop and do a bit of filming and take a look at some of the components that come on this bike, have a look at the motor features and the motor specs, and we'll take a deeper look at this whole Engwe P275 Pro bike. So now we've been out and we've taken a ride on the Engwe P275 Pro. Let's start taking a look at some of the specs and some of the features that come on this street legal bike. And we're going to be starting down here at the motor. This is the mid-drive motor like we spoke about in the video. This specific mid-drive motor is a Bafang M200 mid-drive motor. It is a torque censored motor, so the faster you pedal, the harder you pedal, the more pedal assist you will get. The slower you pedal, the less pedal assist you will get, and that is how you will control the speeds of how fast you are going when pedaling on this specific bike. So partnered along with the mid-drive motor that's going to propel the bike is actually a belt drive, and this is the first belt drive pedal assist bike that I have ever actually seen. Normally you're used to seeing chains on bikes like this, whereas this has a Gates belt on it, and for my Sauron users out there, you'll know that Gates are probably the best belts you can get, and they are nice and strong. Really well made belt. It's interesting to see that Engwe have gone with a belt drive on this bike, and presumably this is to keep it efficient and to keep it quiet. So with it being a belt, it's going to make less noise than the chain actually would. So again, like mentioned, this bike does have an automated gear system, and that is controlled by this rear hub. And the way that this rear hub works with the gearing is when you start off pedaling, it will be in the lowest gear, making it easier to pedal. The harder you start pedaling and the more speed you pick up, you'll feel it get slightly harder to pedal. This means the bike has then gone into gear 2, and then as you pedal harder and faster, it will then go into gear 3, and you do actually feel the changes in these gears. So moving over to the front of the bike, and we're going to be talking about the brakes now, and obviously these are going to be the things that stop you when you've picked up the speed with the mid-drive motor and the gear system. These are Tektro hydraulic brakes. They have 180mm discs in the front and the rear, which is more than adequate enough to give you the stopping power you need when using a bike like this. Also attached to the handlebars is where you will find your display, which is going to be the speedometer. It's going to tell you all the information about the electronics of the bike, such as which mode you're in. It's going to have the odometer on there, and even has different settings that count the calories that you've been burning whilst riding the bike. It will also tell you battery percentage and a whole load of other information all through this display screen. Alongside the display is your buttons, and this is going to be the buttons that turn the bike on. It's going to be the buttons that skip through the power modes. It has also got the headlight button on here to turn the headlight on and off, and then to flick through the information that the display offers on this Engwe bike, you simply press the power button once, and that will flick through each mode of information that you are able to see on the display screen. To match up with the commuter style of this bike, you have got a solid front fork. So just above the solid front forks, you will find an integrated twin headlight on this e-bike. I've not seen how the headlight actually performs in the dark, so it'll be interesting to see how bright it is with it being a twin headlight. And then to pair up with the front headlight on this bike, you do have a rear light, which is actually attached to the saddle. The light can actually be removed by pushing up on the tab at the back of the light and then pulling the light towards you. That will then remove the light, and then to put the light back in, you simply clip it back into place, give it a push, and the light is then attached to the bike again. The wheel size on this bike is 27.5 inches, and they are fitted with CST tyres. The saddle on this bike is a dropper seat style post, so you do have a lever underneath. If you hold this lever, it will actually raise the seat ever so slightly, and then you can lower the seat by pushing in the lever and pressing down. And then finally, we have the battery that's inside of the bike that we did look at earlier in the video. The battery itself is the 36 volt 19.2 amp hour battery. It has a maximum charge time of 8 hours whilst using the 3 amp battery charge charger that comes along with the bike. The advertised range for this specific battery on this specific bike is 260 kilometers, which converts to around 160 miles on a single charge. One thing that ENGWE really wanted to do with this bike was give customers as much range as they possibly could, which personally I think they've done by offering so much range in such a small battery. So then finally, the overall gross weight of this bike is just under 33 kilograms. If we're talking precisely, 32.5 kilograms. It's not too hard to pick up at all. In fact, it's quite light considering, and this makes it easier to maneuver the bike about or even take the bike on public transport like you might be doing if you're commuting in bigger cities or towns. So with all that being said and done, I am going to end this video here on the ENGWE P275 Pro. Big shout out to ENGWE for sending over the bike for me to review. Don't forget that between the 10th and the 20th of April is actually the 10th anniversary of ENGWE. That is where if you spend £650 or more, you will get access to that free gift box worth £200 that ENGWE are providing. If you are new here to the channel, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button for more electric content to come in the future, whether that be e-bikes, e-scooters or electric motorcycles. If you have liked this video, make sure you're leaving a thumbs up and comment down below what you think about this ENGWE e-bike. As always, thank you for watching. I'm Matt Francis signing out. Peace.